Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello dear students, welcome back to NPTEL online course on logistics and supply chain management. So in the last session we discussed about few challenges coming in terms of either your demand uncertainty or supply uncertainty, right. So we talked about some of the mitigating strategies, how we can counter these uncertainties throughout the supply chain so that the smooth flow of the material or the supply can be ensured throughout the supply chain from the starting point to the end consumption point, right. Today we will talk about some of the operational models of supply chain which will ensure how we can integrate all the stakeholders, all the activities in one chain so that these uncertainties can be minimized and the overall effectiveness and efficiency can be improved, right. So under this we will discuss the very basic model of supply chain, that is core model, and then we will discuss about your elements of the supply chain operational model, what are those elements. Then we will talk about these two different perspective of supply chain, one is your cyclic view, another one is push-pull view, and we will discuss about some small case as well and how these three different operational perspectives will help you to meet all the challenges which are coming through your supply chain, right. So we talked about supply chain uncertainty or demand uncertainty which can come through your supply chain, and we will see how this core model offers a comprehensive framework starting with your first supplier, suppliers of supplier, through your manufacturer, distributor, warehouses, and then finally to the end consumer. So complete comprehensive framework, we will see how it will help you to mitigate those uncertainties, and then the other perspective which I talked about, process and cyclic view, where we will view all those supply chain activities as a kind of cycle of some activities, right, and each cycle is happening between the interaction of any two stakeholders. One cycle is happening between customer and distributor, distributor and manufacturer another cycle, manufacturer and raw material supplier another cycle, right. So that is another perspective we will go for. So let us talk about quickly the supply chain operation reference model given by Supply Chain Council, who has given so many different tools to improve the supply chain processes over the time, right. But this core model is the basic building block for build your distributor systems quickly and with performance, because it will include all your major processes through all the stakeholders, and these 5 major processes in terms of plan, source, make, deliver and return the final product. And when we are implementing these 5 major activities throughout all the stakeholders, we will keep tracking your 5 performance measures: reliability, how reliable is the delivery, how quickly we are responding to the customer demand, how agile our supply chain is to flexibly handle all the demands, how efficient we are with the minimum cost we are delivering, and finally how we are managing the assets, whether it is working capital management or other fixed asset you are managing throughout your supply chain or you are using, right. So plan is obviously planning, scheduling and coordinating resources to meet customer demand efficiently, right. So this is usually we are using this for manufacturing purposes, which depends upon when you will get the demand insights, then you will start planning these activities, right, and then you will go for scheduling for all the processes. This process will be done at what time and how much time you need to run that particular process. That depends upon how much that particular product is required in the market, right. Source, depending upon that you are sourcing the supplies, materials and in that sourcing you are negotiating with for the quality, for the quantity and for the price, right, basically for this, and then for the delivery as well, right, how quickly you want, how many orders you will be placing, lot size what will be, right. So those kind of things make, then it is the within the manufacturing organization, it can be the supplier organization as well, where they are getting raw material from somewhere else and doing the making part, converting their raw material into their finished one. That finished one may be the raw material for the next organization, right. So manufacturing, assembly or product, how you are producing. Finally, we will talk about the distribution network, how we are recording the orders from the customer, how those recorded orders are processed through the warehouses, right, and then how we are keeping the inventory in the warehouse and how we are ensuring the final delivery of the product. Return, if any product customer did not like, returning back, how will manage that, how will resell that, will keep quickly on the selling shelf, so that again we can consume that in the market. Repairs, if any coming, how will address that, recycling or disposal of the end used product after the end life, how will ensure that. So you can see we have these players where suppliers of suppliers are there, this supplier is getting supplies from first supplier, and these we can consider for our company, if we are manufacturer, these are the major raw material suppliers, right. So we are getting all the supplies from these suppliers, and then in that supply chain our customer is there, customer may be your distributor, retailer, retailer is also your customer in that way, or you can say here the distribution network, all the players included in your distribution network, right. And then finally customer and where you are consuming. See, all those 5 steps we are using here, we are using here, we are using here, but here we are using 2 steps, because supplier will deliver, or maybe if the products are not okay will be returned back, right. But if I am talking about supplier, the second stage supplier who is doing some value adding activity in that raw materials received from the first supplier, then he will, what we will do, he will plan for the supply, and his plan will be replicated from the plan of the manufacturer, and then planning, after planning he will source that this particular vendor I will get these many supplies, these many lots or quantity, then we will make that, maybe convert that value adding activity I was talking about will be done here, then we will be delivering to the manufacturer, deliver, right. If any damage is there, will go again, that will be from the manufacturing unit, will be supplied by the supplied back to the supplier, right. This is how complete cycle is working. Within the manufacturing organization also the complete cycle same, all 5 stages. Plan, how we are making the plan here, strategic planning from the retail chain, how they are saying about the orders, how many we need to distribute the inventory to that particular market. So that will be coming from the distribution channel who is serving in that particular market. Accordingly, we will source these many raw material components we require, will make, will deliver, and same cycle will be happening with the distribution network as well, where they will be making here. Distribution network is a kind of thing that maybe packaging or some other kitting kind of services you are doing, that is kind of making you can consider, right. So and then finally the end customer again will source, will purchase from the distribution chain or through online, whatever it is, and then if it is not okay will return back, right. So this is the supply chain operation reference model, which is basic for all supplies, but we will discuss about what are the limitation of this basic model, right. Quickly we will talk about 4 P's of this model, which is talking about major elements. First is performance, which we talked about in terms of reliability, how reliable your supply chain is to deliver the particular quality and quantity to the particular market, right. Responsiveness, agility with minimum cost, and how efficiently you are managing your assets, so that you are exhausting the full capacity of the warehouse, full capacity of the container who is shipping the product. Manufacturing facility productivity is very high, with minimum output you are getting the maximum output. Those kind of performance measures you need to track, right. Process, what are the processes? These are the obviously whatever activities, value adding activities you are doing is backbone of this, can be of any framework, right. So here also these activities we need to we are looking here towards the standardization process, how we can standardize the plans, sourcing, make. It's not that every time we are getting the plan from the distributor and manufacturer started developing new vendors. So it is not always it is happening. Sourcing means once sourcing is done, the repetitive purchasing will be there, right. Then practices, method, technique, tools which we are using in that way, so that we can optimize the whatever activities we are doing. If we can optimize, we can reduce the cost and we can improve the services level in terms of the minimum delivery time we can ensure. And people, because all the stakeholders, we have seen suppliers of suppliers, manufacturers, maybe co-manufacturers, distribution chain and end consumer, how we can collaborate as a team and how we can ensure the continuous improvement. When we are talking about the employees working within the organization, we are talking about the raw material suppliers who are working in collaboration with us to upgrade their technology, to upgrade their skill. It's our responsibility, because if we can upgrade them, they can provide the quick flexible supplies with maximum quality and reducing the cost, right. So this is how you can see the score model is based on these 4 P's, right. We already talked about performance measures, practices we need to ensure, people, how we can retain, sustain for longer term and can upskill, reskill those people, people in terms of long term assets, right. So and then processes, how we can standardize those processes so that we can reduce the overall operational cost, right. So talking about score performance matrix, different parameters are there, but if we will divide all those different club all those different parameters into some categories, we can have these 4 categories. Supply chain reliability can be one, which we talked about, right. These 4 categories. Reliability means product are delivered in correct quantity and right condition, right. That quality is not degraded when you are shifting or handling or storing the product in your warehouse. Simply responsiveness, with what speed you responded to the customer query. It's not only delivering with speed, it's delivering the services with speed. If anything goes wrong with the installation, how quickly the best engineer is visiting, and then how quickly he is addressing the queries at the customer end, right. Then supply chain cost, this will be only minimized when you are maintaining efficiency throughout the network of delivering the product from the starting supplies to the end customer. And asset management, how you are managing your working capital. Working capital, if you are investing too much keeping inventory, so that means that you are not efficient in that way managing your working capital. How you can minimize the inventory is one example of you can manage working capital, right. So fixed assets, so whether you need this much warehouse capacity or you are consuming extra capacity, in that terms maybe extra resources, so that you are not in that terms asset management is not done efficiently. Some of the advantages of score model, you can apply this through the entire supply chain. We can use these measures for benchmarking the practices, we can develop the metric, and we can, after developing those performance measures, we can align all our activities as per that metric, right. And then common repository, which will work as a common in terms of performance measurements or in terms of tools that we can use, and we can standardize this whole process, so that because it is repetitive in nature, every day we need to plan, every day we need to source some material, convert that material into finished one, make, deliver, and then every day returns are coming back. You can see how many times you are returning the product from purchased from Amazon, Flipkart and all that. So if I'll say again, this is the plan, the overall picture, and then we are sourcing, and then we are making, here we are delivering, and then finally the return may happen. See, the very basic disadvantage of score model is it cannot be applied to services industry, right. So see, make and deliver and return is not at all possible in services industry, right. If you took services from some airline industry or hotel industry, even if you are not satisfied with the services after consuming services, you cannot return those services. But if I am not satisfied with the quality of this writing pen, I can again, if it is in warranty period, I can return it back, but you cannot return the services in that way, right. Making and deliver cannot be two different stages in the services industry. You are making, at the same time you are delivering, right. So, services are something that if you are going to, again very common example of you are going for head massage to the barber shop. So, then making and delivering is happening because customer is part of that supply chain, right. Sourcing also, sometimes product you can source, but services you cannot prepare half services before reaching the customer and then you are delivering the services. So, whatever you are manufacturing services, that will happen in the presence of the customer only, right. So, this is the very basic limitation that score model cannot be applied as it is to the services industry. Complexity, this because we are applying all those 5 stages for all the players, and it may be difficult to align all those things for all the stakeholders. Already supply chain is very complex, where as a distribution partner you are not having single retailer, you are having different online platforms, Amazon, eBay and Flipkart, and you are Walmart, all those players are there from where you are purchasing. You are purchasing through local shops, you are purchasing through maybe one-stop solution market, you are purchasing through my personal own website. So, that means already supply chain is very complex. One size fits all approach, it is also very difficult because the requirement of each products are different, right. So, these stages, source, making, delivery, planning, all stages cannot be applied to all the markets. Lack of flexibility, because now we are fixed around 5 areas only. So, what about if something unexpected disaster happens, that is not taken care in this model. Talking about limited scope, already I told you services industry it cannot be applied, and then we are never talking about sustainability, social responsibility, all those things we are not taking care. We are taking care of the major activities which are required to run your business, and then because information is required to process this accurately, so then source of information, accuracy of that information is again big challenge. Quickly you can go one example of score model. You can see now there is no such concept of local market, and we are talking about digital supply chain, online retail platforms, right. That means this is a kind of platform where maybe if I am the manufacturer or seller, maybe I will never meet my customer, because as a customer you are purchasing order from Flipkart, I am delivering through Flipkart, and then it is how you are consuming the product, right. So, this is again a kind of that how you can implement here in e-commerce, how you can implement your score model just to integrate your suppliers, customers and contract partners throughout your supply chain, right. So, only then when you will be able to integrate, your score model will work perfectly, because in that way you can quickly share the information. When information is shared quickly and on the same information all the stakeholders are making decision, it will be more aligned, right. So, this you can see data can be easily analyzed in e-commerce, and because the basic requirement of score model is that you need timely data, process data, accurate data. So, e-commerce market electronically you can share the data, right. But yes, if you are talking about yes, those you need to align all those goals of your distribution network, your warehouse, your inventory, supply, demand, all those you can plan, keeping in mind the score model for if you are implementing that for all the stakeholders. But some of the challenges when we are talking about the online platforms, see, fast delivery, right, low cost, easy pay methods available and efficient customer support. How you will ensure that? We are not talking about the after sale services, right, in terms of, and then we are not talking about the payment methods. How these can be integrated in the score model, so that you can work, these models can work efficiently with the supply chains. So, talking about the second perspective, process and cyclic view of the supply chain. So, cyclic view of the supply chain will it is a kind of different cycles are there. within that supply chain, series of cycle we are taking care of, and then how this we can understand in a better way with this example. You can see this is the complete supply chain, right? From here the product is flowing. So we identified 4 different cycles. First is procurement cycle, that is happening between the supplier and manufacturer. When your procurement will start? When you will place your order with the supplier, that okay. And then manufacture cycle, distributor will place the order, then manufacturing cycle will start between distributor and manufacturer. Replenishment cycle will be between retailer and distributor, and finally customer order cycle will be between customer and retailer. So these 4 cycles are there, which are happening. These cycles are series of events, right? So let's talk about any cycle. What is happening actually? Series of event. Usually what is happening? Marketers or sellers markets the product. This is the first step. Marketer markets the product, then what happens next? Buyer places the order. Second stage, this is cycle, I am telling about cycle. Buyer places the cycle, then marketer records the order. Then next stage is shipping of order. Next is customer receives the order, and next is, if it is not okay, return the order. This is how it is happening. So series of cycle. So if I am talking about replenishment cycle, this is series of cycle. So these steps can be replicated for all the players, right? We will see in detail what are all those cycles, right? So we will see what are the different members in the cyclic view. First is customer, already I talked about. Customer is approaching to your retail outlet, or whatever way you are providing the online app, or you are providing through your organized retail stores, or the segregated, all those different unorganized retail sector. Customer will interact with your retail shops. They will be giving their preferences, and your retailer will record the order and will supply the order to the customer. This will be the series of event. You can just keep these activities in mind, right, everywhere. And finally what happens? The change of ownership and entitlement, because earlier the ownership was with the retailer, now ownership is transferred to the customer. Second player is retailer. Retailer is purchasing from the distributor, but retailer is managing the flow of the goods and services. So involves the social movement and storage of raw material, work in progress inventory, or finished goods. That depends upon the nature of the product, whether it will be work in progress or raw material. At the same moment, retailer will process it, will assemble it, and will hand over to you as customer. Then distributor is another player in that, and retailer is placing the order with the distributor. In that way, distributor is aggregating demand from all the local market where he is operating, and then finally communicating this with the manufacturer, right? So services distribution is principally concerned with access. If you are talking about the services, distribution is where the services center are located, right? So talking about that, logistics, transportation, warehousing, storage, and inventory management are the key activities which as a distributor you are doing. Manufacturer, again, depending upon whatever demand is there from the distributor, he is sourcing the raw material, he is processing that raw material from the all the suppliers, and then converting into final product, right? So manufacturing process begins with the creation of the material from which the design is made, right? And then finally the supplier is there, who is the first extreme end of the supply chain, and depending upon whatever your manufacturer is communicating related to the demand, he is designing his distribution network, he is manufacturing in order to supply that product or raw material to the manufacturer, right? So quickly we will go through all those series of event. First is your customer order cycle, that is happening between customer and retailer. Customer arrives, like I told you in generic terms how it is happening. customer is arriving your store. So here the point is where you are providing the services. So that means where you are setting up the retail center, and goal here is to convert the customer arrival into order, right? So once it is converted into order, customer order entry is done. So after that you will be recording the order, what is the order, right? And then the goal here is the quick entry of the order, and then will be communicated to other supply chain as well, that you have received order from the customer, so that the manufacturing players, all the raw material supplier will get that intimation that how quickly we are consuming the product. Customer order fulfillment, then here customer order is filled and sent to the customer, and again the inventory is replenished from where? Retailer will replenish the inventory from the distributor. And then customer order receiving, here customer receives the order, he receives the ownerships, and receipt records are updated and payment is done, right? So finally the payment is completed. Second is replenishment cycle. How it happens between the retail and distributor. Now retail order is triggered, right, because customer purchased the order. So he will place the order with the distributor, again the retail order entry. So from different retail shops all the orders are coming, right? So distributor will combine all those orders, will record all those orders, right? And how quickly it is depleting the inventory will record, maintain the order, right? Fulfillment, retail, so all those retail shops, if 50 retail shops are attached with one distributor, so it will fulfill the orders from coming from the 50 different retail shops, right? And retail order receiving, finally all those 50 retailers will receive the order. So this is again replenishment cycle, series of cycles are happening between these players, right? Then the third is manufacturing cycle, which is happening between the distributor and manufacturer. So again order is arrived from the distributor, then what production unit will do? They will schedule the production for different models, different products, different variety they are having, right? So they will schedule the production. Accordingly, they will schedule means what type of different products they are making, how much lot of each product is required. Accordingly, they are going to place the order with the vendors, right? Manufacturing and shipping, once your production scheduling is done, production is done, so manufacturing and your shipping, then you will be packaging the product and then finally shipping the product to the distributor or warehouses, right? And then finally it is received, and distributor end your inventory is again replenished, whatever inventory you consumed that is again now filled, right? And the fourth is your procurement order cycle, which is happening between the manufacturer and your raw material supplier. So again you can see here order based on the manufacturer production schedule reaches to the supplier. Supplier now will schedule the production activity, because they will also do something with their raw material and will provide you. Again manufacturing will happen, packaging, and you are going to ship that raw material for the manufacturer at the next stage, and in the end manufacturing unit is again replenishing the inventory, keeping the updated stocks, so that if any demand is coming from the market, they can meet the demand. So this is the complete procurement cycle. So all four cycles we have seen, which are happening between all those stakeholders. As a series of event we can see these. The second is push-pull view of supply chain. Pull view of supply chain is when you are reacting to customer order. So that means customer is visiting your site and then placing the order, and then you are finally maybe preparing the order, delivering the order. In terms of services you can say that, right? But push view is when you are keep on producing the things, and whenever customer is coming you will keep depleting the inventory, right? From the inventory you are meeting the order. So in that way pull process you can say is a reactive process, because you are starting producing your things once your customer order is arriving, right? And push is already you are keep on producing the things, and then based on speculations, forecasting that this is going to be the demand, and then let us manufacture this much inventory, and then whenever the demand will be there, we can consume that. So this is push-pull view of the supply chain. It is important to set the push-pull boundary, right? See, here what is there, if you will see this supply chain as one case, we will talk about 2 or 3 cases. See, customer order is arriving here, and already what we have done, we have procured the material, we have manufactured the material, and we have replenished the inventory with the retailer, with the distributor. All those 3 cycles are done here, right? And whenever customer is coming to me, 4th cycle, that customer order cycle is filled here, right? That means this push-pull boundary we are setting here. So any example you can quote here means grocery items, where you are going to grocery retail shop, and then they are having the inventory, from that inventory they are fulfilling your order. This is the best example, grocery retail shop, right? Let's take another example of you are building a house, right? So again, if I'll say the procurement cycle will be here, the second will be your manufacturing cycle, replenishment cycle, and second is customer order cycle, See, when now this kind of supply chain, we obviously we need to depend, the complete supply chain will be pull supply chain. In this case, we were not having the complete pull or push supply chain. Up to customer order cycle, we were implementing your pull process, and beyond that, first 3 cycles were under pull process. But here I am talking about another example where the complete supply chain is your pull supply chain, right? Because unless your customer is finalizing the site, finalizing the contract with you, you will not start your procurement. What type of procurement is required in construction industry? If you are building house, for construction you need sand, you need steel, you need bricks, you need wooden, you need electrical appliances, you need maybe cement. All those things are required. You can see all those raw material you cannot purchase until your contract is not finalized, your tender is not finalized, right? Once it is done, that means you recorded the order, now you know the location, you will start procuring all the raw material. Then you will start building the house, manufacturing step by step, foundation, walling, roofing, all those, you will be installing furniture, electrical appliances, all those things. And as long as you are depleting the resources, your raw material, you will keep on replenishing that. So this is again example of pull supply chain, where you will only react after receiving the customer order. In between, let's say if can I set my boundary here or maybe here? Yes, if we are talking about Dell supply chain. Let's talk about this. Is again very interesting. What Dell supply chain is doing, customer is coming to your retail shop, and then you are manufacturing, you are starting manufacturing. That means up to this it is pull process, but here it is push, because they are having all the raw material components, whatever capacity you want, SSD, how much capacity you want, right? Which processor you want, right? So that all depending upon your requirements. Already I have procured, all the things are there in my inventory. I will record your requirement for configuration for that system, right, your personal computer, and then I will start manufacturing, assembling. Within 2 days, 3 days, it will be replenished with the retailer, and you can pick your order. This is another example where we can extend the pull supply chain up to your manufacturer. So see, we have different types of supply chains. This setting up your push-pull boundary is very, very important, right? Although pull supply chain is very, very difficult to handle, because we are very uncertain, unsure when the demand will come, and then we are starting purchasing of the things. So what we want to relax a little bit in that way, and how we can include some of the stages under push strategy, so that we can maintain some inventory. As soon as the order is coming, we can start processing the order, right? So that's why inventory is in those kind of cases very important to meet immediately your demand, right. So, I think this is pretty clear now how you can set the push pull boundary. There is no unique approach where I will say that this industry you should go for this structure only, but depending upon your analysis up to what you can go for push industry and then you can go for pull industry, right, pull supply chain. So, we can conclude here that any uncertainty or challenges coming in the supply chain on your way, score model is the very basic model if you are talking about a product manufacturing, right, where we can include all those stages, make, source, deliver, plan, return, right, with all the stakeholders. If planning is done at the distribution center, that planning cannot be done in isolation with the other stakeholders. You have to include your raw material suppliers, your manufacturers, your logistic partners, all those should be part of your planning process. And then all players, you can see different cycle of activities are happening between all those players, but yes, in that push pull view of supply chain, it is important where you are setting your push pull boundary, right. So, in that way, but some supply chains are kind of reactive supply chains, you cannot even start thinking of planning even, right. So, once your the site is finalized, your contract is finalized, only then you can start planning how you will start constructing the house, right. That is one example where you can see full complete pull supply chain is there. So, these are the references, you can go further. For already I have mentioned books, right. So, you can go through these references for further details. So, that is all. Thank you very much.